Good morning and good afternoon. Welcome to today's Powerboost. Yeah, as you can see, I'm sitting out here in nature. It's very beautiful. It's upstate New York. So, what is life all about? There's that saying that life is out there. And this is probably the way the majority, if not all of us, live our lives, with that kind of belief, that kind of attitude. You know, everyone wants to be somewhere with someone, do something, and especially be someone. So all our lives' attention is directed outwardly, is extroverted. And this actually, when I think about it, it starts already when we are very little, when we are babies. The way the majority of us grows up, there's nothing really that helps us direct inward, look inward. And if it happens, it's many times not maybe in the most beneficial way. So typically we are very much our lives, our being, and then accordingly the way we live life is very outwardly oriented. And that is where also then the ego comes into place. The way we look at ego or understand ego to be is simply that I mix my identity, my sense of self, I mix it with something that I am not. And so sharing with you a little bit about, from a spiritual perspective about life, then the being, the one who experiences life, is not necessarily physical, but is consciousness. The being of consciousness is experiencing life. So whatever my life's experiences are, how I feel about the situation, about the person, about myself, but definitively about anything physical, any physical experience, any physical sense perception. I see something, I like it or don't like it. Anything we see, anyone we see, mind immediately associates certain beliefs, certain ways of thinking with it. So I'm already actually revealing one of the secrets of life, and that really is that life is inside. Life does not happen outside. Even every single physical sense perception, whatever my experience is of that, whether it's in the context of what we call it positive or negative, good or bad, hot and cold, whatever I experience, that includes, of course, how I feel about it, is experienced in the mind. And the mind is part of consciousness. Mind is therefore metaphysical, non-physical. And if we have interest and explore the whole idea that the mind, which is a receptacle and a faculty that is part of our human consciousness, And one of the main characteristics, abilities of the mind is to generate thoughts. And so all our thoughts are really coming from physical sense perception. Thoughts create feelings. Thoughts create, first of all, awareness of my own self. Thoughts then, or awareness, create feelings, attitudes, intentions. The way I look through my eyes, the way I perceive is all connected to my inner world, how I think, what I think. And essentially, it's connected to the awareness that I have about myself in terms of who I am, what's my sense of self. And if that sense of self is distorted, if that sense of self, of who I am, is not grounded in goodness, is not anchored in peace, love, truth, happiness, wisdom, if my self-awareness is instead or became distorted based on some adverse life situations, but also our sense of life, a sense of self gets distorted over a long period of time as we become more and more extroverted and start to identify and live from outside in. If there is no clear understanding of myself as a spiritual being, as a being of consciousness, that I have the ability to create thoughts, I have the power to create thoughts. And if I am a being of goodness, peace, love, truth, bliss or happiness, joy, wisdom, if power, strength, if this is part of consciousness, then if this is what I want to experience in life, I will have to connect inward and contribute, give, share with others, with nature. I have to contribute to life from a place of inner fullness, inner richness, of inner self-awareness. If I believe that I'm an eternal sinner, if I believe that something wrong with me, if I believe that negativity, anger, for example, is part of my consciousness. Yes, we feel angry from time to time, but that doesn't mean that that is an innate quality of the self. And that's where the difference lies. Of course, there's much more around this area to understand and to explore, but wanted to share today that idea and at the same time extend an invitation to explore that idea of going within. And as I go within, connect to myself, look at myself as a living being, a conscious being of goodness, a being that has already everything what I want to experience in life. And so in contrast to ego, when there is ego and there's a sense of a wrong sense of self, where my sense of self is connected with something that I'm taking from the physical, some kind of support that I'm taking from the physical world, there will be desires. Ego, false identity, false sense of self creates desires, and desires then drive our lives. There can never be true contentment. There can never be true satisfaction. And so it pulls us even further outward, becoming more and more extroverted, distancing myself even more from my own inner conscience, which is really my lifeline, because my conscience connects me to my inner truth. So let us explore this whole approach of life, that one secret of life is to live from inside out instead of from outside in. So let's sit comfortably and maybe even use the background of today, the greenery, to help you relax physically. And I consciously choose to relax the muscles, the physical body, but also the subtle muscles and tensions in the mind. I gradually let go of the attention as I focused maybe on the greenery in the background. I let go of the attention, the focus outward, and I direct it inward. I start to look within my own self. I'm going beyond the physical dimension, going beyond my physical sense perception. The body sits here. The body is alive because I, the living being, the conscious being of light, I'm in this body, seated behind the eyes. And I, the conscious being of light, the being, the inner being, is animating the body, keeping the body alive. And I, the being of light, I'm self-aware, aware of my own existence beyond the body. As of now, I hold the focus of my attention on the thoughts that I create, on that idea that I am a non-physical, very subtle, but very beautiful, unique, and very special being of consciousness, a being of light. And part of my consciousness, what makes me up, is peace. Firstly, there is cleanliness, there is purity. Then there is peace, in a sense of calmness, stillness. The energy, the thoughts, feelings of my consciousness flow undisturbed. There's a positive, even elevated vision, perspective of who I am. There's a positive perspective, outlook, understanding of the world around me. in the awareness of being this subtle being of light. Perfection is possible. Stability, inner peace, love, bliss becomes a reality. I learn and practice to see and go beyond limitations, beyond weaknesses, beyond defects, beyond problems. Yes, all of that is there. But if I look for a solution, if I look for a better world, it starts with myself. It starts within myself, where I choose to connect to my own inner greatness. Place within my consciousness that has never been touched by any human relationship, never been touched by a negative impression. And that is where divinity lies within my own soul. And it's from this place of inner divinity where I can step into an unseen universe of reality, the reality of consciousness, the reality of perfection, of complete order. The reality of belonging to that one being that is always, ever perfect. In that subtle dimension of light, that subtle dimension where perfection, where heaven is a reality. There is that belonging to the ocean of love, the ocean of peace, the one being that reflects back to me my highest self, my purest self, belonging to the being that has the power to guide me back, the power and the wisdom to help me restore within myself my original truth of being a pure, peaceful, loveful, joyful, wise, and powerful being. And it is from this inner self-awareness, from my original state of being, where I now start to live my life, returning, moving back to that original state of being and that ancient, forgotten land of truth and happiness. Om Shanti.